Tokyo Scramble here. It's a hot summer night. I'm walking. I'm sweating buckets right now, and I don't have a timer on me. But I do have a topic. Today we're going to be talking about Japanese concept of Ganbaru. This one might be a bit controversial, but we'll see how it goes. Ganbaru is a Japanese word that's often translated as give your best, but actually it kind of really goes beyond that. It's about giving more than you actually have to give. Like if I had to translate Ganbaru, it would be more like dig deep, go hard, give it your all, give more than you have to give. Like really go for it, really dig deep, really go hard. And, interestingly, the question talked about like where does this come from? Does it come from wartime? The answer is no. Ganbaru or Ganbaru-ism is something that I think is intrinsic to Japanese culture, and it kind of always has been. And I think it comes from the fact that Japan traditionally was not a materialistic country. Now, the materialism I'm talking about is a philosophical materialism. The idea that the only reality is material, the physical things that you can touch and hold and see with your own eyes, and there's no reality beyond that. I'm not talking about consumerist materialism, philosophical materialism, right? And this concept of Ganbaru is somewhere where I think it's a conversation that really starts to shed light on kind of the creep of Western ideas, Western ideals, Western ways of understanding the world creeping into a traditional culture and in some ways kind of poisoning it. And when you look at Ganbaru or Ganbaru-ism, it becomes really obvious. So if you're talking about a materialistic world of the view, our energy is limited because our energy comes from chemical processes, from the food that we eat, from how proteins in our body work, how energy is converted from whatever carbohydrates or I don't however biology works. I'm not a biologist, but it's a materialistic view, and because of this, it always will be limited. You can't produce more than you take in, right? However, Japan and the culture, the entire culture, Japanese culture, is built on the understanding that it's not a material world, that our world is not just made up of the things that we can see. There is an unseen reality as well. A lot of times, there's so many words we've talked about on this channel revolving around kiai or ki. Things like kigatsuku or kiga-ao or anything. Kiai is this idea of having this life force or this life energy that's kind of like a fire that you're burning inside of you. If you've ever watched like Dragon Ball, when you see the characters going like Super Saiyajin, this concept of them kind of like powering themselves up, this energy source that's coming from inside them, that's giving them more energy that would be possible in a materialistic world, is the concept of ki. Yeah. Anyone who's studied martial arts has probably experienced this, times when you've had to dig deep and tap into an energy source that was beyond material possibility. It's beyond just a simple equation of how much food you ate in the morning and how much output you were able to give because of how many carbohydrates you had that morning or whatever. It's not like that. It's an energy source that is connected to the unseen world, right? Now, the reason I'm talking about this so much is because Ganbaru or Ganbaru-ism in the modern world has often found itself at the center of a very kind of negative conversation about what people, I guess now would call like toxic traditional Japanese culture. And I obviously do not share these views, and I disagree with them a great deal. Oops, took a wrong turn. So the idea in Western thought, let's look at like Western psychology, is that you have physical limitations. There are physical chemical processes in your brain that lead to our emotional states and all of this or whatever. And a materialistic view on the world makes us, in a lot of ways, victims of chemical processes, as opposed to allowing us to be in charge. So if you throw away a materialistic outlook on the world and you accept a view where there is energy sources that are coming from, for example, spiritually, if you look at like divine energy, the help of the gods or the help of God or the help of something divine, as most traditional cultures do, then you are never outnumbered, you are never outdone, you are never limited to how many carbohydrates you happen to intake that morning. Your energy comes from a divine source, right? And this makes it very difficult for traditional cultures to see themselves as victims. But if you adopt a materialistic point of view, then they'll say, well, this is just like divine mumbo jumbo. Yeah. This has no basis in reality, and what you're doing is actually forcing people to do more than they're actually capable of doing. And so Ganbaru-ism has started to be seen as toxic Japanese work culture, where people are working themselves to death or whatever. The only problem I have with this, and there is such thing, I do think there is such thing as working too much, and I do think that there are toxic working environments, but you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. When you say something like this, you are essentially accepting 100% that the Western idea, the Western philosophy, the Western views, the ideals that they have about psychology, human biology, human health, you're accepting that these are true, and that any other viewpoints, almost because they're traditional, are somehow inferior or somehow untrue. And you assume this kind of like superiority, and then that's why you can point out things like Ganbaru or Ganbaru-ism and say that it's outdated, it's toxic culture, it's part of toxic work culture, right? I would actually argue that it is the Western influence that has made people unable to tap into ki, unable to tap into ki. They don't actually understand the concept of ki, bringing your ki together. They don't understand the concept of being able to dig deep and push yourself harder than you're physically capable of, because you're drawing your power from an infinite energy source. Whereas in the traditional Japanese world, traditional Japanese culture environment before a introduction of Western ideals into the way of thought, into the way of life, people would have just assumed this to be true. We have an energy source that allows you to work harder beyond what you are physically capable of doing. Your energy is coming from ki, which is like a fire inside your center that you can decide to burn brighter. It's an unlimited energy resource that you can tap into. You can focus. You can, ki. You still see people on TV, ki da, ki, yeah. You can dig deep and tap into this energy. And 100% from my own personal experience, this is not just some kind of like new age mumbo jumbo or some kind of like, no, this is a real energy source that you can tap into. This is a real unlimited energy source that you can actually tap into and use practically. But if you accept that the Western materialistic view of the world is true and somehow superior, and that this is just some backward way of thinking, then all of a sudden people are no longer able to access that unlimited universe, that unlimited energy source. If people no longer believe in divine energy or believe in an energy source from within themselves that's beyond their physical abilities, then they have to rely on materialism. They're going to think, oh no, I only slept 4 hours, and I had only just like one rice ball for breakfast, and I'm kind of tired, and I think I'm getting sick, and what option does this person have? Like I know people, and I myself, when I'm feeling it, have cured themselves of the flu with kiai. Have this just decided, they've literally, they just decide, no, I'm not getting sick. Kiai. And as time goes on, this way of thinking, even in Japan, is because of an influence of Western ideas, has started to be seen as toxic. So, where does Ganbaru come from? Japan is traditionally a very spiritual country, and the connection to the natural world, to the divine world, a belief in the unseen world, a belief in, and in not just a belief, because when you say belief, it makes it sound like you're, choosing or not choosing to believe in something, but this energy source is your life source. What scientist in the world can tell me where, the life force comes from? Scientists can't even tell you what life is. They can't even define what life is, right? They can give you materialistic descriptions of, how ATP is working in your muscles and contracting your muscles and whatever, but they don't know what is life, the secret of life. They have no idea. Traditional cultures understand that it is not material. It's not materialistic. And this is what Ganbaru is. Ganbaru, kiai. It's a culture, it's a country of these two things. So I guess that's my ramble for today. I didn't use a full 15 minutes, and I realized, sorry, I'm walking around. This format really isn't the best in the world. But that's what it is. So if you're out there and you think that Ganbaru is an old backwards Japanese idea that's contributing to toxic work culture, then my response to you is you drank the punch, man. You drank the fruit punch, and you've accepted the premise that Western thought, Western ideas of physiology, psychology, biology, medicine are all superior to all other forms of thinking, of all other forms of life. And if you don't accept that premise, and you look at traditional cultures truly as equals, as ways of, different ways of viewing the world, I think there are a lot of treasure troves that you would gain access to. And Ganbaru, kiai, is definitely probably one of the biggest treasure troves that you could open up. The energy, it's there. We all have this ability to dig deeper and push harder than we're physically capable of doing. So that's your answer, Ganbaru. That's it for tonight. Tokyo Scramble, out.